These presentations will be recorded and provided later on, so you can access them at any point. A few things I wanted to touch on before we start. First of all, thank you for attending today's session on Mediasite. Today's session, along with all the other training sessions this week, will be recorded, as I mentioned, and you'll have the option of viewing them again later. And due to the large number of participants which may be in the session, your microphones are muted by default. So if you have a question, please use the chat feature, which is in Zoom, and then we'll send those on to the moderator and presenter, and we'll cover those questions at the end of the session. And then I want to start today's session by sharing some information that we're including in the training sessions. If you're brand new to remote or online teaching, we recommend that you visit and explore the resources on the K-State Keep Teaching website, which can be found at ksu.edu/keepteaching. And the Preparing and Planning page under the Remote Teaching and Learning Resources tab has a checklist of steps to get you started. And the homepage of the website also includes getting started checklists for students and faculty. And right now, I'll actually drop that link into the chat box, so make sure you are able to see that. So there's a link to the Keep Teaching website. And then as we rapidly transition our classes using various remote teaching options, we want to encourage you to keep things as simple as possible. And these sessions will focus on practical steps that you can implement right away. If you have additional questions after the sessions, please send them to gcid@kstate.edu, which is the email address being monitored by the Global Campus Instructional Design Team. And all inquiries will be responded to as quickly as possible. You can also contact the IT Help Desk by phone, which is 785-532-7722, or by email at helpdesk@ksu.edu, and I will go ahead and drop all that information in the chat box as well. So once again, the email address to the Global Campus Instructional Design Team is in the chat box now. And then the email for the help desk is there, and their phone number will be coming into the chat box. And then also please check out the K-State Keep Teaching training sessions page to see if there are any other sessions that can provide helpful information as you transition to remote teaching. There's a list there that shows all the trainings for this entire week, what times, and all the Zoom links to it. So it's set up very easy to get to the exact training session you need. And here I will provide the web link to get to that website. And then once again, due to the number of participants here in the chat, your microphones have been muted. If you do have a question, please send it to me in the chat, and then I will get those sent on to Brandon to address at the end of the presentation. And if there are no introductory questions, I will turn it over to Brandon, and he will talk to you about Mediasite.
All righty. Thank you very much, Reed. I appreciate that that opening. It's a lot easier to do these when you have somebody sort of moderating and keeping an eye on the chat. So thank you very much for that introduction and for your help today, Reed. So you're probably here to learn about Mediasite. Good news, you're in the right session. My name is Brandon Utech. I'm an instructional media administrator in information technology services here at K-State. And this presentation is sort of bare bones. It's designed to get you up and running quickly with Mediasite in Canvas. So with that, let's take a look at what Mediasite is, because some of you may not have ever heard of Mediasite or have only heard of it in passing. So Mediasite is K-State's enterprise video platform, and it's supported centrally. And so this, as the Mediasite platform, it has three primary functions. So first, you can capture or create media or videos. You can, for example, install the Mediasite Desktop Recorder on your laptop or your desktop and then capture your screen and or your webcam. If we were allowed on campus to do in-class recordings, there are also Mediasite hardware recorders integrated in classrooms throughout the campus that could do a traditional lecture capture. You can also simply just upload video files that you already have, or maybe that you created outside of Mediasite, like in Camtasia, or if you've recorded a Zoom meeting, you can upload those MP4 files into Mediasite and keep it all in one place. So after you have that content created and uploaded into Mediasite, the second thing you can do with it is manage it. So the My Mediasite portal provides a place where you can organize your presentations into channels and shared folders. You can do things like trim a presentation to cut off the beginning or the end of it, or remove parts from the middle. You can also look at things like presentation analytics to see how your students are consuming your video content. So that's all done within the My Mediasite portal, where you go to manage your media. The third thing that Mediasite does is it takes that content and it provides a streaming platform to deliver it to your students through Canvas. So you can, they can take their laptop or their desktop or their mobile device. Anything with a modern web browser is capable of playing back Mediasite content without any plugins needed. So that is essentially Mediasite in a nutshell. It can do many things, and we're not going to talk about all of the things it can do today. So if you're looking for advanced topics like adding in video quizzing, or adding in inserting closed captions, or figuring out how to read your Mediasite presentation analytics, I'd advise you to go to the K-State Mediasite website. So that's kstate.edu/Mediasite. If you go to that website, there's going to be a lot of step-by-step instructions written out in how-to articles. There are video tutorials that you can use to do particular tasks in Mediasite and just follow along. And it's all sort of chunked into task-oriented information so that you can get right to the information you're looking for and the helpful resources you need. So again, this is just a plug. Mediasite can do a lot of things. This is not that presentation. This is more designed to get you up and running in Canvas quickly. But if you're interested in those other topics, go check out kstate.edu/Mediasite. So what we will cover today is how to go into Canvas and access your My Mediasite portal. We'll look at how you can create a Mediasite channel to keep your content organized within Mediasite, and then how you can embed that channel into your Canvas course and let your students watch your Mediasite content. We'll also look at how to install the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software and create your first recording. We'll capture our desktop screen as well as our webcam for this demo. And then finally, we'll look at another way of getting content into Mediasite, which is to simply upload an existing video file you already have. So with that, let's take a look at how to actually get into your My Mediasite portal. There's no account registration process or anything like that. When you log into Mediasite the first time through Canvas, it will automatically provision an account in the background. So there's no need to enter username, password specifically for Mediasite. All of that happens on the back end. It's just integrated into Canvas. So assuming you're going in to Mediasite through Canvas, you'll want to first go to Canvas. So if you go to kstate.instructure.com and you'll log in with your EID and your password, that will bring you to your Canvas dashboard. And your dashboard will contain a list of courses. If you don't see the course you want to go into, you can click on Courses on the left side. And for example, I'm going to go to the K-State 101 course, which is our demo course we'll be using today. And so I'll just click into that course to go to it. So this is our course homepage. And this is not a fancy course, by the way. We just use this for demo purposes. As you build out your course, it will look fancier than this one. So this is pretty much a fresh, empty course right now. So I'm in my course, but what I want to do is I want to go to my Mediasite portal, because that's where I go to manage my Mediasite content. So if I look on the left column, there are all these navigation options, and then there's this My Mediasite button over here on the left side. So this navigation option is only available to teacher and TA roles in Canvas. This is not where students go to watch your videos. This is where you go to manage them. So they're not going to see this navigation option as students, but you, as the instructor for the course, will see it, and so you'll just click on it. And what will happen is it will load your My Mediasite portal just inside of Canvas, and that's really all there is to it. You're in your My Mediasite portal at that point. So let's take a look at next how to organize your Mediasite content. So I'm going to go back into my Mediasite portal. And you'll see right now I'm just on My Presentations. So this is just a list of everything I own. It's not any particular folder. If I own it, it's going to appear in this list. But if you look at the next navigation item down, you have a My Drafts folder. Think of this as like your default folder in Mediasite. When you're creating content, if you don't tell it to go any particular place, chances are it's going into your drafts. So there's also channels, which we're going to come back to in a second because we're going to create a channel for our content for this course. But I did briefly want to mention shared folders. So shared folders are another type of organizational folder in Mediasite, and they're created administratively and then shared among multiple users. So if you're an instructor who is collaborating on a course with multiple instructors, you might want to consider going to the K-State Mediasite website and requesting a shared folder for your course. And then the administrator will set up a shared folder with edit access for the people that you specify. But if you just want to create a organizational folder on your own, you don't need any administrative assistance to do that. You can just go to channels. So I'm going to click on channels on the left side, and now you can see I'm browsing my channels, but I don't currently have any. So what I want to do is I want to add a channel for my course. So I'll go up here to the upper right and click Add Channel. And there are a lot of options here that you can go through later. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of these. The only thing you really need to fill out is the channel name. So in this case, I'm just going to say KST 101 for my K-State 101 course. And then I'll click Create Channel. And now what I'll have is a dedicated place where I can upload my content specific to my course. So this is where I would end up creating my content, but we want to figure out how to then add that content into Canvas so that your students can see it. So what we're going to do next is create a Canvas module and then embed that channel we just created into Canvas. So I'm going to go back to my Canvas course. I'm in my Mediasite portal right now, but I'm going to leave that, and now I'm going to go to modules in Canvas. So you see I don't have any modules currently, but the idea behind modules in Canvas is that you create all of these modules and then insert your content into those modules, and then students work their way through those modules. So it gives you a way to organize your Canvas content into consumable lessons for your students. So what I want to do is I want to create a module for my Mediasite recordings. So I'm going to click Add Module up here at the top. And we'll give it a module name. So I'm going to say Mediasite Recordings. And yes, I spelled it right. Okay, good news. So add module. So now I have a module, but I don't have any Mediasite in that Mediasite content in that module yet. So what I need to do is I need to add a page underneath of that module, and then we'll embed the Mediasite content into that page. So here's my module. I'll go to the plus icon. And this allows me to add another item underneath the module. For our purposes, we want to choose a page. And a new page, let's give it a name. So my Mediasite videos. And we'll add the item. All right, so now we have a module and we have a page within that module. We need to insert the Mediasite channel into that page. So I'll click on the page, got an empty page here, and I'll go up to edit. So this brings up the rich content editor in Canvas. I'll just click in the editor area, and this is where it's tricky. There's this little blue down arrow here called More External Tools. You'll want to find that in your rich content editor and click it, and then go down and choose Mediasite. So at this point, Mediasite's going to ask you, okay, what do you want to insert? Do you want to just insert an individual presentation? Do you want to upload a collection of presentations, or do you want to just upload a file straight into Mediasite and insert it into your rich content editor straight from here? We're not going to worry about presentation or upload. What we want to focus on is collection, because that Mediasite channel that we created is a form of video collection. So I'll select collection. And you can see here, it's showing my most recent collections. If I don't see my collection here, I can search for it. You can also just click enter on, or press enter on your keyboard in the search box, and it'll display all of the collections that you have access to. In this case, I just have the one collection that we just created, K-State 101. So now I'm going to click add to the course, and I want to choose embed, because I want, when students visit that Canvas page, I want the Mediasite channel to just appear. So I'll embed the Mediasite channel into my Canvas page. So you can see it's now retrieved that Mediasite channel and it's put it into the editor. It doesn't look real impressive right now because we're in the editor mode, but once I click save, we'll go preview that page in Canvas. And now you can see here's our empty Mediasite channel inside of our Canvas course. So now if I go back to modules, the next thing I'll want to do is I'll want to publish the page and the module so that students can actually see it. So I click the box over here, and now you can see both the page and the module itself are published. So now what I've set up, I've created a channel in Mediasite that I can put my content into, and then I've embedded that channel in my Canvas course. So all I have to do is whenever I upload a recording, I can tell my students, okay, go to the Mediasite recordings module in the Canvas course and watch this video I just made. So it gives people one place to go and look for your Mediasite videos, and it makes it really easy for you, and you're not having to chase around links everywhere. All right, so far so good. We've accessed the Mediasite portal. We created a channel to organize our content in Mediasite, and we've added that channel into Canvas. Next thing we want to do is install the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software. So first, what is the Mediasite Desktop Recorder? It's free software that you can install on your PC or your Mac. I should note that if you are a Catalina user using macOS 10.15, unfortunately, Catalina is not yet compatible with Mediasite Desktop Recorder. So what you should do instead of using Mediasite Desktop Recorder, for Catalina users, you'll want to use another capture tool. For example, you could use Zoom. Just start an empty Zoom meeting, share your screen, record the empty meeting, and then you can take that MP4 recording afterwards and upload it into Mediasite. So that's an intermediate workaround while the compatibility issues get worked out. But if you have Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, or if you're running macOS 10.13 or 10.14, you'll want to install the Mediasite Desktop Recorder to create Mediasite desktop recordings. So as I alluded to earlier, the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software can capture any combination of your screen, your microphone, and your webcam. And then once you finish your recording, it will automatically upload it to Mediasite and process it into a Mediasite presentation. So to install the Mediasite Desktop Recorder, we're going to go back to our My Mediasite portal. So I'm in my Canvas course, and go back to that My Mediasite navigation icon. And here is the portal. And to install the desktop recorder, we'll want to click on Add Media. It's this button at the top right. And since this is our first time, I'll want to click the link to download the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software. This takes me to the software download page. You can see there's 3 steps to follow. First, download the executable, then run the executable to install it, and then finally we'll come back here and register our connection with the software. So it's detected that I'm on a Windows machine, so I'm going to go ahead and click Download for Windows, and that's going to start the download of the installation software. So I've already installed Mediasite Desktop Recorder on this computer, so I'm not going to take you through the actual going through the executable to install the software, but it's your standard software installer. You'll just open this file that you just downloaded. It'll run you through some prompts. You just click through the prompts, and your desktop recorder software will be installed. Once it's installed, you want to come back here to this page, so keep this page open, and come back to step 3. where you want to confirm and register. When you register your connection, you are associating your Mediasite account with that desktop recorder installation. So when you record with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder on your computer, it knows to upload that content into your Mediasite account. So it's important to click register, and I'll do that now. What that's going to do, that's going to open up the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software on your computer, and you can see here, it successfully registered, well, before the message disappeared, it successfully registered the connection. And I can confirm that because I can see my user ID, my K-State ID up here at the top left of the application. So that's installing the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. At that point, you're installed and ready to go. So let's focus next. I'll close the stuff here to demonstrate our next part, which is we have it installed. Let's now record something. So I'll go back to the My Mediasite portal, and I'm going to navigate to my channel. So I'll click on Channels. There's that K-State 101 channel. And there's a reason I'm starting here, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm in the K-State 101 channel. I'll want to click Add Media. So I've already downloaded and installed the desktop recorder. Now I want to actually record my desktop. So I'll choose this option on the left. I want to record my desktop now. It's going to ask you for some information. For example, a presentation name. I'll just call it Lesson 01. Optionally, I can provide a description. And you see, because I started by navigating to my K-State 101 channel, it's automatically selected that as my destination. If I wanted to change it to a different destination, I can just click Change and correct the appropriate destination for the recording. Once I have all that filled out, just click Create and Launch.
To Brandon, we've had a few comments come in. They're trying to catch up with you a little bit, if you don't mind, a little slower pace for some of the participants to catch up.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just to review, we've accessed the My Mediasite portal. We've created a channel in Mediasite. That's where we're going to put our Mediasite content. So that's where you're going to put your video. We've then embedded that channel in Canvas. So that's where students will go to watch your Mediasite video. And then the next thing we did is we installed the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software. If you need to review any of that, I fully don't expect you to follow along with today's presentation. There's just going to be too much clicking. You're just not going to be able to keep up. If you go to the K-State Mediasite website, so that's kstate.edu/mediasite/help, there are help resources with step-by-step instructions on how to do all of these activities. So don't worry if you're trying to follow along, you're getting lost. You can go at your own pace a little bit slower, but there is a lot to get through today, and I will admit that. But once you do this a few times, you're going to find it's pretty easy. But yeah, you're right. Doing it the first time is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. So you can see now I've got a scheduled presentation. When I clicked Create Recording, it's going to create a presentation on the server, and then it's going to open it in the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software. And so that's what we have here. You can see the presentation name, Lesson 01. So now the presentation is open on your desktop recorder. At this point, you want to make some decisions about what you'll record into that presentation. So this will be questions like, do I want to record my screen? Do I want to record my webcam? Or do I want to just record my audio? If I'm recording my screen, do I want to record that as full motion video or as a series of slides? There are a total of 6 options for capture in here in the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through each one of those 6 options. Again, if you go to kstate.edu/mediasite, there is a how-to article on using the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software that illustrates the difference between all of these options. For today's presentation, what I want to select is screencast plus video. So what that means is I'm going to record my screen as full motion video as well as my webcam. So I'll select that option and then I'll click Next. So at this point, this is where I would set up the hardware. This looks like it's already good to go for me. I can see my webcam. Hello. If I wanted to change that input, I could click here and change it. If I have the wrong microphone input, I could change the microphone. And you can see the meters here. I'm seeing some levels from my microphone. You want that to be in the green or just barely touching the yellow. If you need to make adjustments to your microphone settings, you can open up your system's sound control panel and make adjustments to your settings here. But what I'm seeing here, I can see my webcam, I can see audio levels, I'm good to go. So I'll click next. So here I want to select what I want to record. So you can select a region, you can draw it freeform if you want, to just capture part of your screen. You can select a particular application window. In my case, I'm just going to capture my entire desktop. So I'll select my desktop. I've selected desktop 1, which is the current screen you're seeing. And then I'll select the checkbox or the check mark icon here, the green check, to confirm my selection. Okay, I'll drag this over so that you guys can see it. So at this point, we've selected the type of recording we want. We've confirmed that our webcam and microphone are working, and we've selected the area of our screen that we want to capture. I'll just confirm my settings here, and then we'll be ready to record. So this is the last step before recording starts. So I've confirmed here that my video will be captured, or my screen will be captured, my camera is on, my microphone will be captured, and it will automatically upload the recording after I'm finished recording. The only other option that we need to check here is this Show Recording Control Panel. So this little panel over here is the recording control panel. If you have multiple monitors, you might want to slide this control over to the other monitor, and while you are recording, it will give you a preview of your webcam and your microphone levels. Now, since I'm only using one screen today, I don't want that to show up in my recording, so I'm going to just uncheck the recording control panel. But I still want to be able to pause the recording as I'm going. So I'm going to ask you to memorize one key combination or one hotkey, and that is Control F8. So on a Mac, it would be Command F8. When I am recording and I press Control F8 on my keyboard, that will pause the recording and give me options to either discard the recording and start over, or to continue recording, or to finish the recording. So this gives me an opportunity while I'm recording to hit pause, take a break, recompose myself before I start recording again. But again, just want to remember that key combination, because once we start recording, we won't see that recording control panel to be able to pause the recording. Okay, so I've confirmed all my settings. I've unchecked the recording control panel. Next, I want to set up my PowerPoint. So I already have my PowerPoint open, and it's just a little PowerPoint about Kansas State University. So I'll start my presentation, start my slideshow. So now I'm full screen. Remember, I am going to be capturing my entire screen. So I've made my PowerPoint full screen. And that's ready to go. So now I'm ready to click the record button. Once I click record, it's going to start a countdown from 5. Once that countdown ends, you'll be recording. So let's do that now. I'll click record. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now I'm recording. So I can cycle through my slides, talk a little bit about K-State, founded in 1863 with campuses in Manhattan, Salina, and Olathe. I can advance to the next slide, talk about the undergraduate majors and options. Let's say I get to a point where I want to take a break, or I want to stop the recording. On my keyboard, I'm going to press Control F8. So hold down Control, press F8. Now I get a message that says my recording is paused, and it's going to give me some options here. If I didn't like anything I just did, I can just discard the recording and start over. That's going to take me back to the menu where I set up those options again, where I check the type of recording I'm making. I can set up my web camera hardware, and then I can select what part of my screen I want to record. So that's discarding the recordings, is essentially starting over and recreating those settings. I can also resume the recording. So if I've gotten my drink of water, which I actually am going to do right now, and forgive me, I am caffeinating this morning. and then I could click and resume my recording. I could also finish the recording. So if I get to the end of my lecture and I'm just ready to finish, I would click finish recording. One note, once you click finish recording, you can't go back and add to it. So if you're wanting to just take a pause, make certain you just pause your recording and don't finish it. And you'll notice here, I can also look at my capture duration, so I can see how long I've been recording. So in this case, I've gotten my drink, I'm prepped, I'm ready to talk about the next slide. I'll hit resume recording. We're recording again. I'll advance to the next slide, talk about the K-State academic colleges. All right, I've lectured all I want to lecture, so I'm going to press Control F8 again. So hold down Control, press F8. This brings up the recording is paused now again. And this time I'll click Finish Recording. So this is going to, well, it happened pretty fast because this was a very short recording. But so this shows me that lesson 1 was uploading, verified, and now you see the status of uploaded. And here in the bottom right, I can see recording lesson 01 has finished uploading. Optionally, it gives me the opportunity to open that presentation in the My Mediasite management area. So I will, for now, get out of my PowerPoint and go back to my browser. And I'll go back to my Mediasite portal. So now you see in the My Mediasite portal, there's this lesson 01. That was the presentation we just created and recorded. And you see it's currently working. I'll click on lesson 01 to go view the summary. You can see here it's currently working. Once this finishes working, you'll see a preview image and your recording will be ready to review. So here we can see it's ready to review. I can actually preview it right here. And you can see the preview of my screen and me talking. I'll pause that for now. So if I've reviewed my recording, I like what I see, I'm ready to publish it out to my students, I need to make the recording visible. So it's important to note whenever you upload something into Mediasite or whenever you create a recording within Mediasite, once that recording has finished processing in Mediasite, it will be set to private visibility. That means only you as the owner can watch it. So before you deliver it to your students and tell them to go watch this video, you need to set the presentation visibility to viewable. There are several ways you can do that. You can edit the details of the presentation and change the visibility here to viewable, and then save. A faster way, once your presentation finishes processing, by the way, you'll get an email telling you that it's finished processing, so you don't have to just sit here and wait for it. But once it is finished processing, you get the email, it'll remind you to go set the presentation as viewable. Another way to do that is to simply go to your My Mediasite portal. I'll go back into the channel I was in. And here I can see my lesson 01, it's finished processing. And here's this little lock icon down here. So currently you can see it's unlocked. So the presentation is currently visible. So the lock icon indicates the visibility of the presentation to your students. So if it was locked, you can see here it's set private. All I have to do is toggle this lock icon by clicking on it. So now I'll click it, and now it's visible to students. So we've created the recording is processed, we've set the visibility to viewable. Let's go see how that looks in the Mediasite channel, which is the collection of your videos. So I'll leave the My Mediasite portal here and I'll go back to modules in Canvas. And I'll go back to that page we created that contains our Mediasite channel. And now you can see inside my channel, we have our About K-State video. So this is what students would see when they go and they look at your Canvas page. They'll see this recording that you just made visible. So they can click on it. And now they're inside the channel player and they can play the video. So here you can see it's recorded my screen, it's recorded my webcam. If I wanted to change what I was focusing on, I can. If I wanted to make one of them bigger, I can. So that is the Mediasite channel player that's inside the Mediasite channel, that's inside your K-State Canvas course that your students can see. A lot of new terminology to absorb, but once you do it a few times, you'll get the hang of it. You'll sort of understand, you know, the Canvas course contains a module, the module contains a page, and the page contains your Mediasite channel that contains your Mediasite video. Okay, so that was installing and recording with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder, but what if I have a existing video that I wanted to upload? Let's say I created a video in Camtasia or Adobe Premiere, or maybe I recorded my Zoom meeting and I've got this MP4 file. I need to upload that so my students can see it. You can upload that into the same channel and keep all of your content organized in one place by using Mediasite. So let's look at how to do that. So I'm back on my K-State, or on my K-State 101 Canvas course. I'm going to go back to my Mediasite portal, again, to manage my media. I'm going to go back to my channel, K-State 101. And so again, here's this video we already recorded. I want to add another video to this channel. So I'll click Add Media at the top right. And instead of recording my desktop, what I really want to do is upload a file from my computer. So we'll choose the option to the far right, which is I want to upload a file from my computer. That's going to open a file chooser on your Mac or your PC. So I want to upload a Zoom recording. So I'm going to go to my Documents, and then I'm going to navigate to the Zoom folder. So this is the default location if you record a meeting locally in Zoom. This is where it will be recorded to by default. So let's say I want to upload this Zoom meeting recording to Mediasite. I have all these file options here. Only one of these is a video. You want to pick the MP4 file. That file is the video file. It's normally the largest file. That's what we want to upload to Mediasite. If I try to upload the playlist or the chat, or actually technically the audio would work, but you know, if I want the video up there, I want to choose the Zoom 0 MP4. So I've selected that file. I'll choose Open. Once again, it's going to ask me for the presentation details. So in this case, I'll just call it Zoom Recording. And you can see again, it's going to go into my K-State 101 channel. So I click Create Presentation. Once I do this, it's going to start uploading. So you can see it's uploading the media. You want to wait for that blue bar to get all the way to 100% to the top and queue it for processing before you navigate away. If you leave the web page before it has finished uploading, you'll have to start over with that upload. The presentation will just say it's scheduled, and when a presentation is scheduled, it means it's empty. So we can see this file has been uploaded. It's currently working. That means it is processing that video and turning it into a Mediasite presentation. Depending on the length of your video, this is going to take some time to do. So you don't have to stick around and wait for this thing to process. You can go navigate to other areas of Canvas, go work on your modules or other coursework. When that video is finished processing, again, you're going to get an email. It's going to say, hey, this video has finished processing and it's ready for review. And it'll give you a link to open it in the My Mediasite portal. Just like we had to make our Mediasite desktop recording visible to students, we'll also have to make this uploaded Zoom video visible inside Mediasite. And that's just the same process. We'll go to the My Mediasite portal. In the interest of time, we're not going to wait for this to finish working, but once this is done working, it'll look a little bit like our lesson 01 here, and we'll have to click the icon to make it viewable. So once that is viewable, we'll go back to our module and go to the Mediasite videos. You can see it doesn't appear yet because it's not ready, but once it is ready, you'll see another video appear here, and people will be able to go watch your Zoom recording at that point. Okay, so I think we've covered our bases here. We've accessed the My Mediasite portal. We've organized the Mediasite content into a channel. We added that channel into our Canvas content, and then we installed and recorded with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. we also uploaded an existing Zoom meeting to Mediasite. So I think we've covered our agenda today. Want to just mention here at the end, yes, we've covered a lot. It's a lot to take in, and it's not all of the things you can do in Mediasite. So if you want to review anything that we've talked about today and review step-by-step instructions, or if you're looking to branch out and do more in Mediasite, go to kstate.edu/Mediasite. We've got the step-by-step how-to articles. We also have video tutorials on various topics, and if you're really adventurous, we even have full-blown Mediasite webinars that take deep dives on certain topics. So I think, yep, that is all I have for today, and I hope we have some questions. I assume we do.
Yeah, we've got a list of them here. I'll just kind of throw them at you as they came in to me and try and group some of them together, and then we'll keep monitoring the chat as they come in.
Absolutely, and if there's areas we need to retouch on, I'm all about reinforcing that learning. So,
okay, one of the first ones, more specific question is, if you try to stream copyrighted video, there's some of the instructors have heard that the students will only see a blank screen. Will that happen if it's copyrighted?
So what I'm assuming is that maybe you have a video you've taken off of a copyrighted DVD that has copyright protection on it. Mediasite will not process it will not process videos that have been protected using an encryption software like what do they call it? The digital copyright management, or DRM, digital rights management. If it has that sort of technology employed on it, doesn't matter if you upload it to YouTube or Mediasite or wherever, it won't process that video. So that is a case where you're going to have to get in touch with the owner of that content and say, hey, how can I show this to my students? Maybe they can give you a decrypted copy.
Okay.
We don't by the way, we don't come across that very often, so you might be surprised. But.
And then I'll just we had a couple questions about with Mediasite, I believe just in Canvas not showing up in that left column.
Okay.
And I believe they just go to settings in the navigation.
Correct. So
tab, correct.
So maybe some people are running into, if they've imported courses before Mediasite existed, the My Mediasite icon may not be showing up in their course navigation. Again, this navigation item only shows up if you are an instructor or a TA in your Canvas course. So students shouldn't expect to see this icon, but instructors and TAs should. So if you're not seeing that icon, you can go down to Settings. This brings me into my course details. I'll want to go over and control my navigation options. So there's this navigation tab at the top. And you can see Mediasite is, where is My Mediasite? Is right there. It may not be up there. It may be down here and disabled. So all you need to do is simply drag this up into wherever you want it to appear in your navigation. And then at the very bottom, there's a Save button. At that point, it should appear in your navigation.
Great. And then we had a question come in about if there's any differences, or if you would go over how to embed Mediasite into Canvas for Mac users. Catalina update.
Yeah, so Catalina, that's the challenge right now. So the Mediasite Desktop Recorder does not work on Catalina right now. They are literally days away from releasing a new product, but it's going to be in beta. We're not going to throw that at you just right now, especially with everything else going on, COVID related. But if you have recorded a video on your Mac OS Catalina device, let's say it was a Zoom recording, you can still upload that into Mediasite. That's not affected by compatibility issues. So everything you're doing within your web browser should continue to work just fine. No real differences in how you do that compared to the Windows PC that I'm using today.
And then, is it possible to upload Zoom recordings directly to Canvas, or should all of this be done through Mediasite? Is that the best option?
Right. So that's more of an instructional pedagogy question, or an instructional design question, really. Up to you. So one reason why we recommend Mediasite in addition to just simply being a place where you can put all of your videos and keep them organized, is that Mediasite videos do not count against your file quota in Canvas. So if I go down to my files area, if I were to just upload the recording directly into my Canvas course, it would go into my files area. You can see I have a 5.2 gig limit on the amount of stuff I can upload to Canvas. Now, fortunately, the Zoom videos, when they're recorded, they're actually quite small. It's very efficient encoding. So from a technical standpoint, there's nothing really wrong with doing it that way and just uploading the files. Canvas will stream that back. So it's really up to you as far as whether you want to do that in Mediasite or just do it through Canvas. But if you're already using Mediasite for other desktop related recordings, it does make sense to just sort of put it all in one place, in my opinion.
Hey, Brandon, I got unmuted so I can answer it a little bit
Oh,
pedagogically.
good news. Hey, we have an instructional designer here.
Hey, everyone. So Brandon's right. Using Mediasite is a great way to keep everything organized, to make sure your students have the best streaming capability. But we aren't necessarily at K-State requiring that you use Mediasite. We understand that Brandon had to go through how to use the tool quite quickly here, and I encourage you all to go back, review the video as we post it, which should be on the Keep Teaching website as soon as we can, but also the other videos that he's created on the Mediasite webpage can get you through that as well. But the advantage of using Mediasite is if you have a collection of videos you want the students to just access in one location, and then the streaming capability. Now, that being said, you can upload MP4s, recordings from Zoom, YouTube videos, lots of other ways of recording content can be uploaded into Canvas. And we actually are looking at doing another training that is sort of the breadth of recording a lecture and how to make that happen. So look for our trainings listing and we'll have that up there soon. But you do have options in what works best for you. We're just encouraging the use of Mediasite because it gives those students that streaming adjustability depending on their capabilities in their area. Brandon, would you go ahead and walk everybody through the modules piece again, how they need to upload it into modules, creating the page, those step-by-steps. People were a little bit confused about the difference between the collection and a page and all of those kinds of things.
Sure. Okay. So yes, and if you're new to both Mediasite and Canvas, this is a lot to take on at once. So let's start off by saying Mediasite and Canvas are separate products, but we have integrated Mediasite features into Canvas. So when we're talking about modules and pages and channels, that can all get commingled together, but it's important to understand what item belongs to what product. So first, let's start off actually on the Mediasite side. In my Mediasite, you have this organizational channel. Think of it as like a folder. The folders you create in Mediasite are channels, or they're called channels, and they organize your Mediasite content. Once we have a channel in Mediasite, I can go to my Canvas modules. So the module is sort of like if you think of it as being a chapter in a book, and then the individual pages are within that chapter. So modules and Canvas pages are part of Canvas. So what we've done here is I've created a module. Within that module, I've created a page. Again, this is all still in Canvas. But when I've gone into that page and I've embedded the Mediasite channel, that's Mediasite content. So Lori, help me out if I'm not answering this fully or if I need to do a better job of this, but I'm just trying to demystify some of what all these containers are.
Yeah, I think some people are confused about the difference between channels and just uploading a single video.
Okay.
And the advantages or disadvantages. We've have a couple of people, they've already created modules which are based on the weeks. So really they'd want to just upload a single video rather than a channel.
Okay. excellent. Let's do that. So, so we talked about how to embed a channel into your Canvas course. What folks are talking about doing now is, well, I have a particular module that's for a particular week. So let's say I'm going to go back to my modules, and I'm going to add another module, and we're going to call it, what week are we in? Week, I'm going to make one up, 8. I don't know what week this is, but in any case, I'll add another module. So now I have a module for week 8. If I wanted to, I can, sorry, my mouse is going crazy here. If I wanted to, I could actually move that, or I thought I could move it. There it is. Well, again, I'm showing my proclivity for Canvas here. There we go. I want to place week 8 at the top. Maybe that makes more sense. So if you have all these different modules for your various weeks, what we're talking about now is I don't want to tell people to go watch all my videos in one place. I want to actually put the Mediasite content in my week 8 module. So I'll create another page within the week 8 module. Again, I'll make a new page, and I'll call it week 8 introduction video. So now I have a module for week 8, a page within that module, and I'm going to go to that page. So this is an empty page. What I want to do now is I can either insert a collection from Mediasite like we did previously with our Mediasite channel, or I can just insert an individual video. So let's demo that so you can see the difference. So I'll click Edit to edit the page. I'm going to go to my Rich Content Editor area here. Once again, I'm going to go down to this very nondescript blue down arrow called More External Tools and choose Mediasite. Okay, so earlier we embedded a collection. That was that Mediasite channel. Now I just want to embed an individual presentation that I've uploaded. You see, here's all of my recent videos. If I want to see all of my videos, all I have to do is go up here to the search box, press the Enter key to send an empty search query. Now it's going to show all 8 presentations I have in this account. And so again, if I wanted to search for my presentation, I could do it there. Once I locate my presentation in this list, let's say I wanted to include Lesson 01, which is what we created earlier. I'll click Add to K-State 101, and I'm going to get some options. I can either insert a link to that presentation, or just the abstract, or just the player, or the player in the abstract. To show you the difference between the player and the abstract, I'm going to choose abstract plus player. It's going to retrieve that Mediasite content. Again, doesn't look all that impressive in the editor, but once we save, now I can see I have embedded a Mediasite video, individual video, into my Canvas page for that module. So here is the abstract. It's this top part. It's just a, the title of the video, any information or metadata about the video that exists, as well as the thumbnail. If I click on that, it'll take me to that video and I can watch it full screen, or I can just watch it right on the page, because this part is the video player, the embedded video player. And so I can just start playback from there.
Brandon, would you go ahead and show them how they could embed a link directly into the module to one video? They should be able to do that.
So you're talking about if I go to the modules and click on a link and go straight to the video?
So not in a page. If you click the plus symbol.
I'm going to correct bad behavior here. You should not be doing that. And there are reasons for that that are technical. If you just put a direct link to the video in your module, it may or may not work for the student, because it's not going through Canvas at that point to get to the content. So if they happen to be logged into single sign-on, it'll work great. If they're not, they may get a blank page or an error message. So that's really bad practice to link directly to a video from within the module. So I'm not going to show that.
You just answered a bunch of questions that people were wondering why they couldn't do that. So thank you so much.
It's way more technical than you want to know, but it has to do with authentication. So.
To another question that we've had come in a few times are if there are any limitations to file types or resolutions, file sizes,
Okay,
especially for students with older systems.
yes, well, or newer systems really. So yeah, this is a great topic because we do run into this every once in a while. For example, we have people that will record video on their cell phones, and it's a lovely image. It's a nice new iPhone. It records 4K video. Mediasite has trouble processing 4K videos. It's really only built for 1080p and lower. So, so full HD is fine. 4K, 8K, any of those types of videos is probably going to have trouble with processing those. There's also a complication that students typically can't play back 4K content over the residential internet connections. So that's a consideration to make there. So yeah, resolution is important when you're doing the desktop recorder capture. As long as your screen is not super high-end resolution, you should be able to capture that content just fine, and it'll scale it within the processing part of Mediasite. If you do want to make your text bigger and things like that, I would recommend lowering your screen resolution to do that capture. That'll just make the graphics larger, easier to read, things like that. It'll also shrink the size of the video. So important part there, yeah, 4K video, not recommended for Mediasite, but you should be able to use your desktop recorder just fine. Video file types. So I talk a lot about those MP4 video files, and that's because MP4 is a very common video standard, and it's very universally used. But Mediasite can accept other file types. If you have, for example, an AVI file, which may be common in older Windows systems, if you've like recorded with an older Microsoft product, it will accept MPEG files, so MPG or MPEG files. Those are accepted in Mediasite, and some others as well. So yes, it does accept other things other than MP4, but MP4 is by far the most common, and if you have a choice, choose MP4.
And then also with, you talked about the file size. How about with PowerPoint specifically? Is there a limit on that as far as file size?
And so think of it this way. When you are using the Mediasite Desktop Recorder, it's simply watching your screen. It doesn't really care what the size of that content is. So no, there's no real restriction. If you have an extremely large PowerPoint, that's not going to be an issue. It's just recording whatever is on that screen at the time. So.
Okay. And then with one question related to that too, we had is, if Mediasite with the bandwidth, will that affect people with poor quality internet access? Should they just do PowerPoints, add PowerPoints to Canvas instead?
So there's two ways to approach this. One, yeah, you could just say, okay, here's my PowerPoint and some notes I've written. That's for the really low tech, you know, I barely have internet access kind of thing. I can barely do email. That may be the better option rather than trying to stream any video at all. But Mediasite will automatically deploy and well, it will automatically apply multiple resolutions to your video, and the browser will essentially tell Mediasite servers what quality to deliver to the student based on their available bandwidth. So there are some quality negotiations that occur there. So you want to make some considerations, because if somebody's watching a lower quality video and you expect them to not have the bandwidth for a full HD video, you'll want to make your graphics bigger on your PowerPoint, things like that when you're recording. I've lost my train of thought where I was going with that, but the other thing you can do is consider, rather than recording full motion video with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software, there's an option to choose a slides-based capture. And so I've got actually got a slide on that somewhere. So remember when we were in the Mediasite Desktop Recorder, I'll just open it up here real quick. You see there's all these different options, and you see I have options for just recording my screen and my audio, or I can also record my screen and my webcam, or just my webcam. But in both of those pages, we have the slideshow or screencast. And so what's the difference between a screencast and a slideshow? This is a little slide I made that details that. So a screencast is recording full motion video with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. So if you have animations or you're doing annotation on top of your PowerPoint slides, anything with motion where you want smooth playback, you want to use the screencast option. Otherwise, you're just going to be creating a bunch of slide images. Conversely, slideshow does not capture full screen video. It basically watches your screen for any changes. So anytime you advance to the next slide, it's going to take a picture. If you have an animation, it's going to take a bunch of pictures. So that's why if you have a static PowerPoint where you're not really doing any annotating or you don't have any significant motion, a slideshow capture may be better than a screencast because it will create a lower bandwidth need, because your students not downloading a full streaming video, they're just downloading a series of JPEG images as the presentation progresses. So that may be a consideration for your low bandwidth students if it's possible, if your content allows it. Not much motion, not much annotation, consider it a slideshow based capture.
One thing that I'll say about PowerPoint is thinking about if some folks like to do PowerPoint with voiceover, that cannot be presented in Canvas directly. A student would have to download that PowerPoint file and then play each slide with your voiceover. So it doesn't work very well for them. You're asking them to do a lot of downloading to be able to hear that voiceover. You can convert a PowerPoint with voiceover into a video, and that would then play in Canvas. And again, you could upload it to Mediasite and then play it within Mediasite. So that can work well.
And
We're also
your next question will probably be, how do you do that in PowerPoint? And it's a simple save as video function when you go to File, Save As. I will warn you, it does take a while to convert those PowerPoints to an MP4 video file. So be prepared to wait a little bit. But once you have the MP4, you can upload it into Mediasite or wherever you need to put it.
Yeah. So we're getting lots of questions too about the length of video. You can technically record a 50-minute lecture. That is an option that you can make. One of the functionalities of Mediasite that's really nice is that you can embed polls and quizzes throughout that to kind of break up your content and trigger students to pay attention. But statistics are showing that students struggle to engage with long recorded videos. They're watching that content drops off after 8 to 10 minutes drastically. So they stop watching, they stop engaging with the content. So if you can find natural breaking points within your lecture content to make those shorter areas, by some sort of focus, that really will help students to consume that content. Think about, when you're sitting there in lecture and you see your students' faces start to go blank, you might ask a question, or ask everybody to raise their hands for something. Those kinds of things you can react to in the classroom much more easily than you can in a recorded lecture. So breaking it up into sections can help those students consume your content a little bit better. So think about the breaking it up, using the tools in Mediasite to do surveys or questions. They can be super low stakes, but it can help you to know whether or not students are understanding what you're communicating.
And to that end, if you do record a 50-minute long lecture and you need to break it up, you can do that in Mediasite. So I'm in my Mediasite video, I can click edit video. There is a video editor in Mediasite. It doesn't do a lot, but you can essentially break up the video into multiple chunks and chunk your information. So I can basically select an area that I want to cut out, or I can change where I start my video. I wanted to start it there, and let's say I wanted it to break up right there. I could essentially save that video to a new file or a new Mediasite presentation, lesson 01 part 1. Save that video. Now I've got a video save job where it's going out and it's creating a new Mediasite video that only contains that part of the presentation. And so then I could go and say, okay, I'm going to go do my part 2 here. And we'll make another video, save to new. Lesson 01 part 2. And so again, I can just create multiple presentations out of the one recording I did.
And then let's see, a couple other questions we had. Is Safari compatible with Mediasite as well? We just had one user that said they're having trouble accessing it and had some difficulty with cookies on there. Do you know anything about Safari being incompatible?
Sure, I think something we've seen often at the help desk is Safari sometimes struggles with K-State's single sign-on cookies. So I think that may be what they're experiencing. In that case, I'll tell you first, if you clear your browser's cache, that can resolve that issue, but definitely if you continue to have problems with it, go to the IT Help Desk website, and their number is 532-7722. You can give them a call or send them an email to helpdesk@kstate.edu, and they can walk you through how to get that corrected. But yes, Safari should work with Mediasite.
And then we had a couple questions about where to find the edit function on Mediasite, and then how to insert polls and questions.
Okay. Those are more long-form topics, but yes. So
Okay.
by the way, here's lesson 1, part 1. Here's lesson 1, part 2. Those videos are done. Well, let's go look at a video. So the edit, there are several edit buttons in here. So first of all, you have this edit detail. Oops. Let me go back and do that again since my mouse messed up there. So there's this edit details. That simply opens up places where you can change the visibility. If you wanted to change the metadata about when it was recorded, you can do that there. Title, that kind of metadata stuff. So that's the edit details button. There's also an edit video button. That opens up that video editor that I was just in, where you can make changes. And again, if you want to learn more about how to use the video editor, if you go to the help and training page, there's a how-to article on how to edit your presentation's content there. So that's the second edit button. There's also a place where you can edit slides. If you've made a slides-based capture, you can actually go in and move those slides around, change them out. So this button isn't particularly useful if you did a full motion screencast capture with the Mediasite Desktop Recorder. But if you did a slides-based capture, you can go in and actually edit those slides. Finally, there's an edit captions option where you can go into the caption editor and create or change captions within Mediasite. I hope I covered all the edit buttons there.
It can be a little bit confusing. Just take your time and work through it.
Yeah, this is one of those things you can do as little or as much with Mediasite as you want. I advise taking small bites.
And we had a question a couple of different places on, what tools work. Really, any tool you want to use, because Mediasite is just capturing your computer screen. You can use InDesign, you can use PowerPoint, you can use any of the presentation tools that are out there, and then just share your screen when you're recording through Mediasite. The same way you share your screen using Zoom, anything like that. That's what it's capturing, not the tool itself.
Right. Yep, it's just watching your screen. Whatever's on the screen is what gets captured.
Okay. And so with that, if someone wanted to do a Zoom recording and we had a question about like changing the background or some type of visual formatting for their presentation, they could do it through that and then just record it through Mediasite.
So if you're using Zoom, my advice is to recorded in Zoom as opposed to in Mediasite. There are some reasons for that, and that devices typically are not shared between Mediasite and Zoom. For example, for this webcast today, when I was demoing the Mediasite Desktop Recorder software, when I selected my webcam, I actually have two webcams on my computer right now pointed at me. One's being used in the Mediasite Desktop Recorder, and the other one you're watching right now as I'm talking to you. So there are some complications technically if you're trying to use Zoom and the Mediasite Desktop Recorder at the same time. So my advice is, if you're using Zoom to record, or if you're using Zoom for your content, record it in Zoom.
Can you talk a little bit about editing a video that was uploaded to Zoom rather than recorded uploaded to Mediasite rather than recorded in Mediasite?
In Mediasite, sure. We can. It's really the same process.
Right.
Let me go back to my Mediasite here, and we uploaded that Zoom recording. It's finally processed, ready to go. This is just the first frame of black video. So let's find out what I uploaded, because I didn't really pay attention to which Zoom meeting I picked. So I'll click Edit Video, just like I did for the last one. And it's going to open up the Zoom recording in the editor here. And so apparently this was one of our Mediasite webinars. So yeah, it edits just like that other recording we made in the desktop recorder. So no real technical difference there. It's just video at that point.
And then also there was a question about, I believe is when you were uploading the Mediasite to Canvas, if there was a way to edit the visual of how big the video shows up. They said, kind of your example is about 1/3 of the screen. Can you edit that to make it smaller?
Okay, one more time. Is it when I was embedding an individual video?
I believe so, yes. You're
Okay.
embedding
Let me...
the video. And the question is, well, whether you can adjust visually how big the video shows up on the screen in Canvas.
You can, but you've got to be a little bit brave. So for example, I'm going to go back to my week 8 introduction video. And so this is reaching across the screen. When I'm playing this back, I can, first of all, maybe the easiest way is just to tell your student to pop out the video, and then they can make it full screen if they want. The other option, they can actually click on the video, and that just loads a standalone player where it's full screen. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let me bring that back. I guess I can't because I'm in an incognito window. Yep, so let me get back into Canvas here. Pardon the interruption. So I'll go back to my modules, go back to this introduction video. So if you're wanting to modify just this piece so that the video player is either larger or smaller, you can do that in the Canvas editor, but it's a little tricky. So I'll make this just a little bit larger so we can see what we're doing here. So you'll notice I can't really do it like within the Canvas WYSIWYG editor itself, but I can go into the HTML editor, and this is again where you have to be brave, to change the size of that video. So here you're going to look for this iframe, and it's just defining a default width and height here, but you can change that to whatever you need it to be. So for example, if I only wanted this to be 600 pixels wide and maybe 300 tall, you'll have to play with this to figure out what those numbers should be to look best. You can just change that iframe width and height and then save. And now you can see that video is a little bit smaller.
Brandon, would you touch also on, and thank you all for hanging with us, and thank you, Brandon, for hanging with us a little bit long.
I'm just avoiding another meeting, so this is cool with me.
Would you touch briefly on the setup of recording? So like if someone doesn't want their face in the recording, how that looks versus if they do want a little window with their face in it.
Sure. So yeah, we just showed you the how to do a screencast with your webcam. It's also possible to do it without one. I'm actually going to go reference this how-to article. So again, I'm on the kstate.edu/Mediasite website, and under the how-to articles, there is a capture your desktop using Mediasite Desktop Recorder link. And so these are the step-by-step how-to instructions. And down here, you can actually see a description of what each of these 6 options mean. So you have a screencast plus video. That's going to record your desktop as full motion video. It's going to record your webcam. You also have slideshow plus video. So it's going to record your desktop as a series of still images. In other words, not full motion video. And it will also capture your webcam at that point. You have video only. If you're just doing an announcement to your class, you don't really have a PowerPoint or anything to demo, you can just record your webcam on microphone. I'll skip down here to the bottom and say, if you don't want your face to be on camera, you can also have an audio only option where you can only record your microphone. And then of course you have the slideshow and audio options, where slideshow and audio will record your desktop as still images, but it won't record your webcam. It'll still record your audio. So if you're using a webcam audio, it'll still capture that, but your face won't show up in the recording. The same is true of the screencast plus audio. So screencast plus audio will record your desktop as full motion video, but it won't record your webcam image. So
is there
that's sort of a longer-winded description of those options. But again, when you're in your desktop recorder, choosing which one of these 6 options you want to use, that's how that works.
Are there any backdrops offered through Mediasite the same way we've been playing around with them in Zoom?
Right. So not currently. Zoom's actually doing some pretty creative Disney Imagineering stuff to make that work, especially in older computers. But I know it's a feature that they're looking at adding to the Mediasite, the future version of the Mediasite Desktop Recorder.
Perfect. And so Susmita is asking for more clarification. She wasn't asking so much the size embedded in the Canvas page, but when you're recording, how do you get everything so that it's a little bit larger?
Oh, okay. So there's several approaches for that. One would be to simply change your screen resolution. And if you go to in Windows, for example, if you go to your gear icon here, you can go to settings. It may not open that while I'm actually screen capturing, so I'm not sure if it'll let me into that, but yeah, it looks like it's going to hang up on that. In any case, do some Googling. If you don't know how, you can actually call the help desk and they can walk you through changing your screen's resolution. So the general concept is the smaller your screen resolution, the bigger the stuff's going to be on the screen. So that's one way to make the screen capture area smaller. The other way is to capture not the entire screen. So for example, if I have my PowerPoint open, but I'm not in the actual slideshow mode, I can actually just capture an area of the screen. So I can go to, for example, I'll just choose screencast and audio here for our purposes today. I'll click through, and instead of capturing my entire desktop, I'll just capture a region. And I can either do that as a freeform and just draw on the screen what I want to capture. I can also say I want to restrict it to a 16:9 aspect ratio, so I'll choose that. And then I'll just draw on the screen around my PowerPoint slide. So that way, this is the only thing that's getting captured, and when you play it back, it's actually going to appear larger in the playback. I don't know if I'm answering that question still, but if not, connect with me afterwards and we'll try to walk through it.
She says you answered her question.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
I'm glad I could do at least one of those today. So
you answered a ton of questions. Thank you so much, Brandon.
One kind of last question, I guess, if you could touch on, was we had come in as if Mediasite helps out, such as pointing to something on the screen and that kind of feature, or if that should all be done through PowerPoint beforehand? Or if Mediasite is strictly just kind of the live recording?
It's sort of the live recording. I think what we're talking about is more like that annotation feature, right? Where you want to, either draw on the screen or highlight something or zoom into something. Mediasite doesn't really do any of that. I will say though, if you're interested and can afford the software license, Camtasia is a great tool for doing that sort of thing. But if you're just living inside of PowerPoint, you might just rely on the tools in PowerPoint to do that. For example, let me back out of this so I can do what I want to do here.
So Camtasia does have a free license. You could try it in the free license.
Okay.
And Screencast-O-Matic is another free license that has some of those tools.
The other thing, if I am presenting, you're going to test my memory here, but there are pointer options inside of PowerPoint itself where you can use a laser pointer,
Right.
Or you can use a pen or a highlighter. So if I want to highlight something. So there are some annotation tools within PowerPoint you can use, but nothing natively in Mediasite for that.
Okay. Those cover, I would say, the majority, all the questions that I saw come in. Laura, do you see any others or have any others for Brandon?
I think we got them all. Lots of great questions.
Okay. Well, I will go over, we have a couple more things to drop into the chat box here. Once again, thank you all for being here today. Hope you found it helpful. A lot of information covered. And please remember that if you have any additional questions, you can send them to gcid@kstate.edu. And this email is being monitored by the Global Campus Instructional Design Team, and all inquiries will be responded to as quickly as possible there. And you can also contact the IT Help Desk by phone at 785-532-7722 or via email at helpdesk@ksu.edu. And I will go ahead and drop these links into the chat box. So we have the instructional design email, the email for the help desk, and then the help desk phone number. And then also please check out the K-State Keep Teaching training sessions page to see if there are any other training sessions that provide helpful information as you transition to remote teaching. And I will go ahead and provide that link in the chat box as well. If there are any other questions, feel free to reach out to the instructional design team. And thank you, everybody, Brandon, Laura, and all the participants for being here this morning.
Yes, thank you very much.